Welcome to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show where we discuss all things political, bringing you the top stories locally, nationally, and from around the world. I'm Ruben Abati, and This Day Live begins now. I'm Ruben Abati, your host for This Day Live, the Sunday talk show. I'd like to welcome our special guest for today. With me in the studio joining us is our resident guest, Deputy Editor at Sunday This Day, Olaleye.
Good evening, sir.
And of course, your favorite budget specialist and CEO of Economic Associates, Teriba.
Good evening.
And later on in the show, we'll be joined by the Director General of Bola Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies, Professor Bola Akinterinwa. All that and more. Stay tuned. Well, welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us. We have quite a bit to talk about today, so let's get right into it with the top stories of the week. Wale Olaleye usually gives us a rundown. Wale, what's been happening in Nigeria and across the world in the past week?
Well, interestingly, a lot has been happening, and I think the countdown to 2019 has begun, really, because the President Buhari and former Vice President Atiku stepped in the fray in the week, and that, for me, was an indication that the signs of 2019 are, crystal clear. And then, of course, in addition to that, the president who was in Abidjan for a summit on terrorism and also left for Jordan in the week hinted at possible presidential.
The one in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, was the EU summit on terrorism, which is significant.
Yeah, very indeed significant. And then, of course, the president also seized the occasion of that summit to hint at a possible presidential run. And I think now we are getting close, with the starting line. Also, in the week, the Boko Haram has continued to, pound the people of Borno State, and then they literally seized Magumeri, and of course, that was a follow-up to their seizure of Mubi, the other week. And I think this is a sad one, and which is very contrary to the security reports we get from own security agencies. Senators said the 2018 budget estimate was unrealistic. I don't know. Maybe later in the course of our discussion, Dr. Teriba will look at that. APC to hold elective convention in June as Okowa heads PDP convention committee.
Well, I mean, that's PDP.
That's PDP, yes, okay. Okowa. And then the FIFA 2018 World Cup draw is clear now. Nigeria is between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Well, maybe not so
not so deep. And maybe a very mild.
I believe we can.
A benevolent devil.
We can beat Croatia. We can beat Iceland. And we've beaten Argentina in the past.
We'll try again. Then it was 2 years on December 1st that. Mr. former NSA, Dasuki Sambo, has been kept in detention without any significant trial, despite about 4 courts being granted him. Well, we probably will look at that and implication for our democracy. The governor of Central Bank has said the worst days are over. Okay, Professor Dr. Teriba will also help us with that. Libya slave trade. The federal government, did its best in the week and brought back about 242 migrants who were literally stuck in Libya in the week. Senate said it was going to probe alleged statement of the police officer who was charged with murder of some of the Akpo 6, many years ago. We lost Ambassador Oluyemi Adetunji in the week. He was 83. Senate President also in the week said anti-graft agencies were reluting some of the recovered funds and property. That's a sad one. I also find this story interesting from the eastern heart of east of Nigeria, the Imo State. The assembly boycotted the the budget presentation for 2018. They demanded to know how the governor has been spending the bailout fund, the Paris refund, and then, of course, they wanted to find out how he's been managing their
What clarification are they looking for? The governor has been building
a statue. Okay.
has been constructing statues all over the place.
And then
very high cost.
Coming from the Deputy Senate President that Nigeria isn't working, I think that's a serious one. Of course, the Ikoyi whistleblowers in the week headed to court to challenge the non-payment of their percentage. And on the international scene, former U.S. National Security Advisor admitted to having lied to the FBI about his involvement with some Russians. And then,
that's Flynn, right?
Yeah, Flynn, Michael Flynn. And I think we might just be getting somewhere with the Trump administration in terms of facts and alternative facts now. And then, lastly, Zimbabwe makes Mugabe's birthday, February 21st, an official public holiday. And I'm thinking, I said last week that if indeed Zimbabwe is keen about moving away from this phase, then the entire leadership structure has got to change. And then this is the kind of thing I'm saying. You wanted Mugabe away. Mugabe is away, and then you're still celebrating him, declaring his birthday official.
Well, he's been celebrated for his role in the revolution.
Oh, really?
That led to the liberation of.
They should have just waited for the man to conclude his tenure in September.
No, but the issue is far more complex than that. But so, on the program, we'll look at some of these issues in greater detail. But let's look at the issue about the returnees from Libya. Over 650 Libyan deportees returned to the country over the past 3 months. And in the last 2 weeks or so, quite a number have also returned. And the taste of their sojourn in the North African country, where they had planned to cross the Mediterranean Sea to Italy, has been heartbreaking. 168 of them, out of the total number that has returned so far, returned to Benin City on Wednesday, while 108 arrived on Friday. And the news coming out is that about 70% of the Libyan returnees are from Edo State. And virtually all of them are from the southern part of Nigeria. So there's something curious about that. And the story also is that, they experienced slavery, sexual trafficking, human trafficking, while they were in Libya, and they were subjected to all kinds of indignities that run counter to the International Convention on Human Rights and the dignity of the human person. Before these Libyan returnees, you recall that 26 young Nigerian ladies died, while trying to cross the Mediterranean. And they were given burial by the Italian authorities. And we had an issue about that, talking about the response of the Nigerian government. However, this time, there seems to have been an improvement in terms of government response, and even at the level of the state. The ones from Edo State were received by officials of the Edo State Task Force Against Human Trafficking. Some of the women were pregnant and emaciated, just like the men who said they were used as slaves. Governor Godwin Obaseki had promised to train the returnees in skills as part of the efforts to reintegrate them into the society. Most of the deportees lamented that their sponsors promised to take them to Europe, only to abandon them in Libya. Now, the governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, says he has approved 150 hectares of land and 100 million seed capital for the 150 Libyan returnees and victims of human trafficking who completed a skills acquisition training at the Edo Agricultural Development Program Office in Benin City, the Edo State capital. What else do we think should be done for the returnees from Libya, not just in Edo State, but across Nigeria? Is giving them hectares of land or giving them money a sufficient trade-off for enduring slavery? What do we think of the response of the Nigerian government? You'll recall that this is not the first time Nigerians will be brought back from Libya. About a decade ago, 17,000 Nigerians were repatriated from Libya. Illegal immigrants trying to cross to Europe. Now, what exactly is wrong? The Nation did an editorial, I think, today, saying that these Nigerians voted with their feet because they couldn't vote with their thumbs in Nigeria. Because even when they vote for their thumbs in Nigeria, they really, don't get the dividends.
Right. Well, you are dealing with a situation in which prevention would have been better than cure. It's no, it's an ongoing issue. You are discussing now those who have been brought back. You know, I heard the president, I read about the president addressing Nigerians in Abidjan and saying that those that can be identified as Nigerians, because the news say they are Africans. They can't specify which country, and you don't even know under which nationality they are traveling. So we should, much as we will try to remedy the damage that has been done to the returnees, our dialogue should be stronger on preventing, additional thousands of youths from being, you said they voted.
With their feet.
No, but your summary said that this is human trafficking.
Yeah.
When they left, some people brainwashed them, telling them they were going to Italy. And then they intercepted their vessels, Libya is a post-conflict country. Libyans are not themselves at peace. It's been hijacked, it's a lawless, situation. So how you combat the traffickers is a major issue, and how you educate the youth
is another.
Yeah, so that they don't fall for,
But you'd see, really, in the age of globalization and the closing up of boundaries, the opening up of boundaries, can you really stop people from going where they think
you can
they can get better life?
You can educate them.
There could be checks. I agree. There could be some degree of education, and then also government could go as far as ascertaining what business they actually. You can't move people in that large number and not ask questions really. And then how they get to smuggle them out of town is also a source of concern and speaks a lot to how porous our borders are, really. But again, I don't think, like Dr. Abate said, I think there's also little government can do about stopping people, from traveling to wherever they choose to travel to. Importantly for me, I think it speaks to governance in Africa. And the leadership, in Africa has to go back and then do some kind of rethinking about how far they've led us to this sorry, path. And I think if our people are not doing badly in terms of governance, in terms of administration, infrastructure, and all that, we probably won't find our people here. What is in Libya to start with? That I want to go to Libya to do what? So I think.
No, it's not Libya that they really go to.
They wanted to go to Italy,
point.
And they were trafficked
for them
Libya.
To cross.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's still really about leadership and governance.
It's about them. It's about their choices. It's about their own ignorance.
No, sometimes you're forced into taking.
It's about being careful.
Sometimes you are forced.
You can't blame the government.
No.
For everybody's error.
I'm not blaming the government, but government, of course, in terms of leadership, is not doing a lot. It's not doing sufficiently enough.
No, maybe you can blame government.
Yes.
I once co-edited a book on illegal migration many years back. I don't even, I'm sure, maybe I'll have a copy of the book on my shelf. Now, what people say, some of the testimonies we received, is that many Nigerians abandon Nigeria. They cross to other countries because the objective conditions in Nigeria
absolutely
make life impossible for them. So, won't you blame government in that regard? If in some states of the Federation they don't pay salaries and unemployment is in double-digit rate, inflation is double-digit,
no roads,
and
no electricity.
Nigerians are,
well, I think
fatalistic,
more. I don't think this
pessimistic
should
about
become
the future.
a blame game.
It is not.
I'm saying that this has happened, we could have prevented it.
Absolutely.
And prevention would have been better than cure.
Certainly.
But it's still a live issue as we speak. Some
developing stories.
Some youth have been brainwashed into, I get a job for you, I do this, but they will never get to Europe. They are going to end up in Libya. That much as we miss the opportunity to educate those who now are being returned or those who are still trapped there, we should not miss the opportunity to educate those who are still here.
I agree.
Rather than say it's...
because I saw a tweet by somebody who said those who are caught up in the slave trading were just unfortunate that it's not going to stop him from traveling, en route to Libya. I agree with him on that point. But by and large...
But slavery is a crime against humanity.
No, it's not acceptable.
It's an assault on the dignity of the human
absolutely.
person.
We are blaming the right people now.
What should the international community do?
I saw the UN secretary
to challenge the Libyan authorities to check this impunity.
No, remember the Libyan government too had come out to say that they needed help. That what's currently going on in Libya is beyond them. So if they had cried out, and like you said, it's a post-crisis country. There's little the government can do internally. So they need external forces to help them contain this menace. And I think the international community at this point must come together to rescue Libya.
So isn't this some kind of karmic development? I mean, when Muammar Gaddafi was in charge of Libya, the story was not this
horrible, yes.
Yeah? So the Western powers, particularly the US government, taking out Gaddafi, have they not, in trying to solve a problem, created worse problems?
But
because I've had people blaming the Obama administration for causing this problem.
But really, a lot of people saw this coming. Going after Libya, they knew this was going to come up. Immediately after, post-Gaddafi era. Going after Gaddafi, a lot of people knew would give rise to this, what is happening. So it is not new. And indeed, whatever reason they might have gone, for Gaddafi, I'm not sure they have come together to solve the problem in Libya. Rather, they have created more problem than solving the Libyan crisis.
Do you share that view?
Well, it's the issue of the fact that even Libya, you have mixed tribes. You have those who hate Africans,
true.
Who hate Africans.
So you're talking about racism.
Yeah, who had always hated Africans. But Gaddafi, personally, saw Africans as his brothers. I understand the mom is indeed as well, African. So he protected African during his regime, encouraged so many Africans to pass through Libya to Europe.
No, not to pass through Libya, maybe to stay in Libya.
No, to settle in Libya and to pass through, if they so choose. So after his death, those that hate, the black Africans are beginning to target them, for oppression.
Yeah, but what's your assessment of the response by the Nigerian government? The Edo State government has provided money, has provided land, but you know how it goes in Nigeria. After the thing goes off the headlines,
and then
nothing will be heard again, and the people will be left to their own devices.
Well, providing money and land is one thing. Whether the returnees want to go to farm is another thing.
They may not have an option.
So maybe you should do more than money and land. You should give them other options.
But how come
it's only about, they have returned
from people from southern Nigeria and particularly from Edo State? 70% from Edo State alone. What's responsible for this?
I don't want to think. If people think it's prostitution, I don't know. And there's this thing about people from that part of the country, likely to lean towards...
Italy.
Yes, and that's probably one of the reasons you have a lot of them from that part of the country. But I also think that the response of the state government so far is not a bad one because it's not something they were expecting. And then the capacity to think through this within a short period and come up with that idea is also commendable.
It's commendable, but offering 100% of them the option
at this
to
point,
farm,
they do not have an option. At this point,
you can broaden the options.
How?
You can also add.
You must also look at what is available with the government, financially and otherwise.
Because see,
beggar they say have no options.
The state government is also offering money.
As beggars.
The state government is also offering money for 30,000, 20,000, 5,000
for family.
No, for a period of about 3 months.
Okay.
To encourage the people to settle down.
Okay.
But should they settle down, what follows? would some of them not even go back to same Libya?
Most probably. That's why the idea of education, enlightenment.
So I think at the end of the day, what is important is empowering people, giving them opportunities for self-development, giving them hope, making democracy meaningful to them, so that Nigerians do not continue, to flee from their country in search of opportunities elsewhere, even in spite of the fact that we're in the age of globalization. In any case, it's time now for a short break here on this Sunday Talk Show. But do stay tuned. When we return, we'll have the latest on the upcoming PDP convention and updates on everything Atiku Abubakar has to say about President Buhari. Don't go away.
Our customers are focused, versatile, superheroes. Our customers are also the most important people in our world. So we listen, partner, and give solutions that make a difference in their world. At First Bank, we will always put you first.
You first. First Bank.
There is nothing as symbolic as a door. It shuts to protect you and opens to give you much more. Everyone wants to succeed, not just count pennies. When life gets tough, I remember a few things. Difficulty and struggles are part of what life brings. Your strength comes from the support around you. A true friend believes in what you do, there to hold your hand through any weather. I found my partner, and we walked through doors together.
Diamond, your bank.
As a fashion writer, I know how quickly trends are created and changed. In business, it's no different. To stay ahead, I needed a plan flexible enough to meet my changing communication needs. More Business 2.0 didn't just give me voice and data in one package. I got a whole lot more. With More Business, setting up my website was no problem. But I'm not just a fashion writer. I also own a home decor store before I decided to open an accessory store. With my customized More Business plan, managing my staff's communication is easy, no matter how frequently they come or they go. With 9mobile's new online self-service this week, I could adapt my plans to include this.
From 2,000 Naira, choose a business bundle, customize your staff's voice and data lines, and enjoy a variety of add-on business services. Dial *200 *5# now to subscribe. More Business.
Welcome back. It's still This Day Live here on Arise News, and I'm Ruben Abachi in Lagos. Yeah, just before we went on break, we were discussing Libya, the Libyan situation. Joining us now is our International Relations Foreign Affairs expert, Professor Bola Akinterinwa, the Director General of Bulitag Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies. Prof,
thank you.
You must have listened to part of the conversation. So what's your take on the situation of the Libyan returnees?
I think you meet the most critical point, the most relevant point, which is globalization. Globalization involves free movement, borderless societies. So the Nigerians can move as freely as they want as citizens of the global community. However, globalization does not imply, for whatever reason, that if you are moving from Nigeria to Liberia, from Liberia to Libya, from Libya to Italy, you should engage in any act of illegality. You are supposed to go through the due process, which is in two parts. The first part is that you must hold a valid identity card, which is your passport. Your passport must be valid. It simply means authorization, recognition, approval by the issuing state. So when you hold a Nigerian passport, it simply means that Nigeria can now vouch for you. And that's why it is clearly stated in the passport that the owner, all right, the holder of this passport is a citizen of Nigeria. Please assist. Then visa is the second stage. Visa means acceptance of the recommendation by the issuing authority that please, we know this guy is our citizen, is entitled to international decent treatment. Now, in most cases, Nigerians have their passport, which is the first leg. You are recommended. But now, you do not have the visa, right? Which your destination, the host state to be, will have considered. So you now travel on your own, meaning that one, you have abused the recommendation of the government of Nigeria, the issuing state. Secondly, you have taken for granted the country you are going to. Now Libya, the major problem is this, whether it is under Muammar Gaddafi or post-Gaddafi. We talked about post-crisis Libya. Yes.
Post-conflict.
Post-conflict. Well, Libya has permanently been a terra cognita of crisis and conflicts. They are only changing, the environmental conditionings. So Nigerians do not even go to the city, to the villages. They go to the desertic areas. All right, that's the problem.
Because they are illegal travelers.
Yes.
So you're not
play into the hands.
You are saying that
Africans.
illegal migration is a crime.
It's a crime.
In the eyes of international law.
Yeah, you can't blame
So in other words, even these returnees, what we're dealing with criminals.
Precisely.
In the eyes of the law.
You cannot be more correct.
Anyway, let's move on. Thank you for making that point. Let's move on to the issue about the PDP convention that is on December 9. Barely 1 week to the National Convention of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, on December 9. And Bayelsa Governor Seriake Dixon has advised the PDP leaders not to see the party's National Convention on Saturday as an end, but a means to regaining power in 2019. In addition to that, with the rancor and deep suspicion that currently exists among contestants, particularly the national chairmanship candidates, the party's leadership has been drawn into a brewing crisis, which, if not quelled, could have dire consequences. But despite the arm-twisting tactics of moneybags in the party and allegations of bias leveled against its leadership, a top-ranking leader of the party claims the leadership is still very much in charge and would not allow its independence to be eroded. Victory is the goal for the PDP in 2019, and the party seems focused on winning federal power. What do you think? Is the PDP the favored party? Is the PDP really focused on the right things to enable it win power back in 2019? And how do you think that the convention will turn out? With so many people jostling for chairmanship and all this talk about zoning and micro-zoning, and the PDP really looking like a party in disarray, if I may say so.
Well, looking like a party in disarray in the run-up to the convention is different from how they emerge from the convention. So it's a question of how much of those divisions the convention.
Well, Wale, you have been watching the situation closely.
And how united, because they now have a common reason to be united. The forthcoming election.
Yeah, but how united are they? Wale, you are the political reporter.
I agree with him that looking, disunited does not mean they are going to end up like that in the convention. And I also think that it is too early because this competition is very stiff to have an idea who might emerge the national chairman of the party. In fact, it is very impossible at this point to predict because of the interplay of interests currently, going on within the party.
Interest or intrigues? You mean intrigues?
Intrigues, both of them, because the governors want to have an upper hand. The other stakeholders are saying, no, you've always had your influence, and then you blew them over the years and all that. So reconciling these differences would, take some serious skills to do that. But I also think the PDP is not as bad as the APC is making it look before the electorate, really. And I stand to be corrected. I think the outcome of the 2015 election wasn't against the PDP. It was against the president, former president. They just wanted Jonathan out. Either way, even if it was somebody else who was brought in, they probably would have won that election.
Wow.
So I think PDP still has its chances, depending on how well it plays its game amongst the Nigerian people. And I see it doing not badly in the 2019 elections.
Well, Prof, it looks like we are down to a two-horse race, two parties, the PDP, the APC. And other parties, registered parties, don't seem to be important in the landscape. How do you think the PDP will fare? Because it's like PDP, APC, and 2019 will be a showdown between these two dominant parties.
At the presidential level.
You see,
at the presidential level. Yes,
thank you. I agree with you in part, and I agree with them in part. Why I agree with you in part is simply because it reminds me of Babangida's a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. In part, with Ayo and Wale, is that, look, what the PDP is simply trying to do is to remove the order and counter-order in their intra-party relationship so that the order and counter-order does not become a permanent feature of disorderliness
in the party.
Now, that brings me to the question, their future. You see, your analysis, the analysis of Ayo is quite tenable, is quite good. That, look, what they are trying to do now cannot be equated to mean the likely outcome of their convention.
Yeah.
It's a very good hypothesis. It is tenable. But even with the outcome of the convention, please, the situational reality as at the time of voting is still a different kettle of fish entirely. The issue is that at the end of the day, I look at PDP as a party that has been put in a kettle of suffering. All right? They are learning their lessons in a bitter manner. And they now want to ensure that candidates and the chairman of their PDP nationally must be a candidate, a person that will ensure it does not fail. And this is the major challenge before them. They really cannot say who has this potential to deliver. And that's where the difficulty is. Now, when I said a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, they all have very good candidates. All right?
I was just going to say that.
You said so. That's why I agree with you in part. They have very good candidates. But who will be lucky, all right, to have, the day? We never can tell for now.
Is it actually a question of luck or the choice of the over 3,000 delegates who will take a decision?
No, it will not be. It's not like before when you settle the candidates and give them money. To a great extent, one lesson the PDP is learning is that, look, they are moving away from politics of money. Now they are looking critically at how to really defeat APC, either led by Buhari or otherwise. And that's the issue. So nobody is looking at monetization of politics for now.
Well, I'm not too sure that
it's not a factor you can discount on.
I'm not too sure you can remove the money element from Nigerian politics. But we wish the PDP well and that they will get the right person to lead the party.
Hoping so.
And whoever emerges as chairman of the PDP at its next convention, the geographical extraction of that person, the religious extraction of that person will have implications for a lot of other
Don't
things
forget also,
within
sir,
the party,
that the APC too is going to have its own elective convention in June and might change its national chairman to indeed some of the officers.
Well, of course,
So it will be interesting.
the next months will be very interesting in Nigerian
Absolutely,
politics.
yes.
And the international community will, of course, be watching very closely. Let's go to this issue of Vice President Atiku, who has been in the news. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar says that President Buhari was barred from the United States for 15 years due to his religious views. Atiku was quoted as saying this during an interview with Dele Momodu, who is part of our team, and in his weekly column titled Pendulum, which was published in the Boss magazine. The former vice president was responding to a question on why he avoided traveling to the U.S., stating that it is the sole prerogative of America to determine who they want in their country or not. He went on further to say his application is going through an administrative process. But for about 15 years, Buhari could not enter America on account of religious considerations. It seems that this is just the beginning of unwarranted rhetoric between opposing parties in anticipation of a stand-down in the forthcoming 2019 elections. Atiku seems to be setting the tone for 2018 when the campaigns will start, with personal attacks and blackmail being at the forefront. This leads me to question campaign rhetoric and personality attacks being the focus for politicians instead of the actual issues at hand. How important is decency when campaigning and knowing what each candidate has to offer, outside of slandering the other? Because this is a really serious issue, okay? What we have seen now is that the tone is being set for the campaigns. But of course, President Buhari has denied being barred from entering the United States.
At any time.
At any time whatsoever, but this seems to be the pattern, Usually in Nigeria, it's never about ideas. It's about personality, and they've started already. The name calling has started. Even when, the parties have not declared who the candidates are. So is Nigerian politics all just about ambition and no ideas?
Well, I didn't just deny, he threw a lot of jabs at Atiku.
Okay.
If you read that...
I did.
a lot of jabs.
You tell us.
A lot of jabs at Atiku. But I do not see the former vice president as someone who is flippant or given to vain talks. So if he had said Buhari was unable to travel to the U.S. for 15 years, honestly, you have to concede certain things to him. He probably had some facts. We may not have everything. He has his own facts too, because up until the time he won his election, I've not heard about Buhari going to, to the U.S., even when he was said to have been invited by Obama, to his inauguration. I didn't see him there.
Yeah, but the point is not going and not being allowed to go.
Yeah.
You said he was invited by Obama.
But as president, President Buhari has been attending UNGA, United Nations
As
General Assembly.
president, nothing will stop a sitting president. Nothing will stop.
No, things stop
I'm sure
president.
when he gets... No. Who?
Yeah, they can't visit particular countries.
No, even Ahmed Janat was received in the United States.
No, let's get it straight. I think Wale is quite correct. United Nations location in New York necessarily makes the area, all right, the place, international territory. It has an exterritorial diplomatic status. So the United States cannot deny any sovereign state access to the place. And that is why, you see, visas are codified. Visas.
Yeah.
You have A, B, C.
B1, B2.
All those things. They have their meanings. In fact, there are some visas that only entitle you to move from the airport only to the United Nations. They will not allow you free movement to other parts of the U.S. So these are things people should not take for granted. Now, for Buhari, he might have been issued the status of a person non grata, unwanted. All right? So in this case, in your own individual capacity, you cannot go there. If you go there, well, you will face the music. Whatever you carry can be attached. But if you are going in your official capacity to represent Nigeria with your status, please, you can go there. So that's where you are very correct that Atiku wouldn't have talked out of... Yes, loosely.
Prof, can we rephrase the conversation? Why should Buhari or Atiku going to the United States, being admitted into the United States, be an important issue for Nigerian presidential election?
The reason cannot be far-fetched. It cannot be far-fetched simply because any person seeking the highest office
Nigeria
to occupy a position in any part of the country, please, you need to be decent. Your record should be straightforwardly acceptable, clean. But now, if, for instance, you make a statement according to which the international community felt seriously offended, that is to say, look, I read it, that you are committed to the implementation of Sharia. And we know what Sharia is all about. It is a source of major international crisis and conflict. So, and America felt offended to say, okay, you can go anywhere, but on the basis of this statement,
let me rephrase it again. Should Atiku be focusing on whether Buhari can enter the US or whether he has a certificate or a NEPA bill or whatever, instead of advertising what he would like to do?
No, it's just a simple response. It was just a simple response to the question asked him.
Let's not take it out of context.
Because as a candidate, as a potential candidate,
question, yeah,
about that.
It was a simple response.
In responding,
and he said it's no big deal. I have to run somebody too, so it's not a big deal.
He made a claim that had previously not been in the public domain. I am not aware that President Buhari, who for a period of 15 years was not allowed to enter.
It's in the news now.
But the only source thus far is still the presidential.
Yeah, because the embassy has not corroborated it.
Yeah,
the embassy of the United States.
They won't even say that at this point.
You have to take it with a pinch of salt.
That's diplomacy.
He used it.
They will even deny it.
Yes, they will even deny it. I mean, for diplomatic.
Yeah, but you see, going forward, you see, the point we made about setting the tone, it means we imagine that by 2018, when the campaigns really start, there's really going to be a lot of brinkmanship, there's going to be a lot of mudslinging. Is that what we want?
Before we move on, I'd like to say something to Prof. You were saying it's about record of the person seeking the highest office in the land. And then, so if America is not granting me visa, and London, France, so does it change who I am in terms of record?
Particularly when it's on a religious...
So why is America important than...
point of religious difference?
Look, why is it that every country is seeking relationship with the United States? Is it not because it's a superpower?
Everybody's seeking relationship with one another.
Hold on. I understand that. You see, the issue is that here in Africa, Nigeria,
particularly,
Nigeria in particular, is another United States, whether anybody wants to like it. Everybody wants to come to Nigeria. All right? Primus inter pares, first among equals. Nigeria is first in Africa. Even when they refer to Libya, they refer to South Africa. Please, the Nigerian of today, that you are, that I am, please, we have the respect. Forget whether they talk about 419, etc. along. I am aware of a statement or a condition made by a former United Nations Secretary General. They wanted to post a commandant general to Sudan, and they needed, somebody recommended someone from Pakistan, and Pakistan or India. The recommendation from the office of the UN Secretary General was that, look, if you really want a quick solution to this problem, please appoint a Nigerian soldier. And they made the recommendation. Olusegun Obasanjo was president by that time. And most unfortunately, he's now late. Ambassador Oduyemi Adeniji was contacted to do this. And they sent to Konko and Martin Luther King. Aguirre. Please, these were the people. And this is because they said, look, if you want a meaningful and constructive and immediate solution to this problem, please send Nigeria.
So America is a factor in our politics.
Well, in addition to everything, Nigeria has the largest population in Africa, and we're also the largest market in Africa.
In fact, the military is the most active.
If not for anything. Anyway,
yes.
You're watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel with me, Ruben Abati. We're going to take a short break now. You stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Then think Zenith, one of the biggest in Nigeria, with assets over $16 billion, listed among the 20 most influential brands in the world, and winner of Best Bank in Corporate Governance. The most customer-focused bank in Nigeria, a success built on 3 foundations, dedicated to people, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
It's been a great year for agribusiness. With our weather and the amazing range of soil available to us, the fallow lands are birthing their magnificent potential. The Central Bank of Nigeria, under President Buhari's administration, is spearheading this progress, and everyone is getting in on it. The local farmer on the Anchor Borrowers Program and the international investors, taking advantage of the new policies geared towards easy foreign investment, stabilized exchange rate, and FX market. The harvest is green and lush, and we are just getting started. Come, invest in Nigeria. Discover what the green in our flag really stands for. Nigeria, ready for business. An initiative of Greenfield Assets Limited.
As a fashion writer, I know how quickly trends are created and changed. In business, it's no different. To stay ahead, I needed a plan flexible enough to meet my changing communication needs. More Business 2.0 didn't just give me voice and data in one package. I got a whole lot more. With More Business, setting up my website was no problem. But I'm not just a fashion writer. I also own a home decor store before I decided to open an accessory store. With my customized More Business plan, managing my staff's communication is easy. No matter how frequently they come or they go. With 9 Mobile's new online self-service this week, I could adapt my plans to include this.
From 2,000 Naira, choose a business bundle, customize your staff's voice and data lines, and enjoy a variety of add-on business services. Dial *200 *5# now to subscribe. More business.
Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Now, gentlemen, let's talk about Boko Haram, the resurgence of Boko Haram attacks. The Nigerian Senate revealed on Wednesday that 357 Nigerians have been killed in 55 attacks perpetrated by the notorious Boko Haram sect since 2017 began. Significantly, they have infiltrated the 3 northeastern states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, respectively. On Tuesday, it was mentioned that the Senate may need to invite service chiefs into a closed-door meeting to review the resurgence of Boko Haram activities in the northeastern states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. The insurgency in the northeast is resurfacing, they said. If we need to invite the security chiefs to brief the Senate in a closed-door session, I will formally move a motion at our next sitting, Senator Ndume in particular stated. It is well known that the government has actively put a plan of action in place to combat threats on the north and the pervasive Boko Haram terrorist group. Is what the Senate now looking to do, inviting service chiefs into closed-door meetings, really going to make any difference? What is it going to truly take to save the lives of Nigerians and truly put an end to these deadly attacks? The government had even said before now that the Boko Haram had been technically defeated. In the light of recent developments, is it true that Boko Haram has been technically defeated? A part of Nigeria still remains his own for terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, as we have seen in the last few weeks, that could just be the propaganda, sustained propaganda of government, you know. to keep Nigeria away from the reality in the northeastern parts of the country. And I want to believe, at least from some of my own personal findings, that some of this interagency security, rivalry could also be a factor. Calling for help, not responding, and all that. There is a factor of corruption. There is one of capacity. Remember that a soldier posted something on Facebook recently saying how they were not being treated, not being paid, and all that. So there is no motivation. And then the firepower is still very low compared to what these criminals have. So when you combine these things, there's no way we won't continue to have this much casualty, back and forth.
But these are the same things the Buhari government was going to correct. This was the change they promised, not so. What happened?
Well, I think we have to be careful here about whether the Boko Haram has been technically defeated or not. It would have been better to have comparative figures for what happened, for example, in 2016 or in 2015. I do not think that we were dealing with problems of 350-something people being killed within a year in 2015.
I'm sure the figure is even higher now. The figure is not.
It's not that.
It is higher.
It's certain. We were in the realm of thousands. We were in the realm of thousands.
We're actually in the realm of thousands now.
No, the figure you have told us now is 357.
This 3-something figure is modest. It is not the true reflection of how many people have been killed.
What we have to deal with, this is November in 2017, is 357 casualties. We should admit that Boko Haram has largely been tamed. Unlike what we dealt with when you were talking of 23 local governments. No, let's be frank. These terrorist activities occur.
They strolled into Mugameri,
in every country.
Spend hours killing, maiming, stealing for hours. Nobody could tame them. Just last week, and then you are saying they've not tamed nothing. They're just lying.
Dr. Abati, I think, is more correct. Technical defeat as an argument, yes, I agree. Government can rightly boast of having technically defeated the Boko Haram. But what does it mean? What is technical defeat? That is what people have refused to seek understanding of. Look, technical defeat simply means we won the battle, but not the war. Now to talk about resurgence of what? The Boko Haramis have always been there. The war has been there. But winning the battle is completely different from winning the war. And winning the war is also quite different from winning the peace. So we are still at the level of the battle. What has happened is that, even if you are looking at it from statistics, please, we have been very economic with the truth. Only God knows how many people, all right, have been killed. Under normal circumstances, if 1,000 has been killed, you want the government to come and say they lost 1,000?
It wasn't the government, it was the Senate.
I am coming.
It was the Senate
I am coming.
that brought out the figure.
It's
not the executive.
Look,
They don't run the military.
The Senate is also a Senate of very knowledgeable people.
You are ignoring facts. You have to respect the facts that you have been provided.
Please.
That's the issue. It's the issue.
Any information coming from the Senate,
357 people.
any information coming from the Senate cannot.
You are not entitled to your own fact.
Cannot be taken for
One of the
granted.
problems we have in Nigeria.
That figure was very modest.
Teriba is committing a typical Nigerian crime of devaluing the human person. He thinks, the way he's sounding, he's saying 355 persons don't mean anything.
Even if it is that.
No, the way you are making it sound. The way you are making it sound.
We are discussing whether the security situation is improving or is deteriorating.
No.
Just because you want to blame the government at all costs.
No, that's not because anybody is blaming the government. Whether I want to like it, the government will take the blame.
You are playing politics with statistics. Even if it is just 10 persons
yes,
killed in the last 1 year.
Yes.
Those lives are important.
I'm not saying they're not.
America will go to war because of only one person.
So
But that
it's not
does
for you to
mean
say.
that thousands of Americans doesn't get killed by their own police.
It's not for you.
Yeah, so
It's not for you to say.
We are running away from
No,
the issue.
by
We say,
police,
is
we are
the situation improving or not?
Can we?
The situation is
I
not
am beginning
improving.
No, can we calm down?
The situation
Can we
is not
calm down?
improving.
It is wrong to say that if 1,000 Nigerians died in 2016 due to Boko Haram activities, you know,
And this year you only have 357.
So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal that 357 persons have
The
died.
issue about crime
What is important?
is reducing the casualties.
What is important?
You never operate in the world of absolutes. Where
20
nobody gets
is a
killed
lot.
in rugby.
Dr. Teriba, 20 is a lot, let alone 375.
What is important is that the war against terror should be sustained and that no Nigerian life should be wasted. And that government, whether it is the APC that you are fanatical about, or the PDP or any other political party,
that you detest so much.
the duty of government is to ensure the security and the welfare of the Nigerian people.
Absolutely.
Whatever level that
The
government
only way
has.
government can overcome this is to move away from looking at technical defeat as an end in itself. You see, when you talk about war, it means that your anti-war strategies
let's
must
take
be
a
all
look.
encompassing.
Prof, your point is clear. Let's take a look at the state of the economy. And Teriba is here, luckily for us. We know that the budget 2018 has been dismissed by the Senate as unrealistic. Now,
Well,
is that true?
2 points, in Wale's initial summary is about what some senators had said about the 2018 budget and about Cross River State budgeting 1.3 trillion. Yeah, you have to be careful of the headline about budget 2018 unrealistic. They were discussing specifically the benchmark price, and they were making a case for raising it.
Well, it's not just about the benchmark. They also talked about the fact that, look, about 21% is for debt servicing, 71% is for recurrent expenditure, and there's nothing for capital expenditure.
So how to fund
And that, what it means is that this is not a budget that can work. And in any case, if you look at the 2016 budget, performance rate was just 12%.
Both 2016 and 2017.
Yeah, so what is the guarantee that the 2018 budget will even be
any better
operationalized?
Yeah, well,
those are the issues.
The budget has been proposed to the parliament, and they will revise it. So the revision, you can't come every week and begin to raise alarm. But the more interesting issue for me is Cross River State the governor proposing a budget of 1.3 trillion.
The highest so far.
It's not even. That's not the news.
Yeah.
It's that this same country, this same state, proposed 300 billion last year. That's a huge 1 trillion increase in budget. Where is that coming from?
And then to also think that it is also nearly non-oil producing now, because literally, particularly all the oil wells have been ceded to neighboring states. So they don't even have so much to boast of in terms of oil.
No. You see, Ayo, when people are planning to have a breakthrough and they are rethinking
plan big,
even when you say budget, what's the meaning of budget?
Estimate.
It's an estimate. Now, if the governor is now looking at it differently to say, look, I'm likely to have new revenue sources, probably is looking at the citizens of the state in diaspora. They might have discussed. We should not undermine.
It's not undermining.
It's just the state of the economy. This is one budget that is very unrealistic.
Wait, we need to get more details about it.
We'll return to this subject, but we should not throw away the points that have been raised by the Senate, because if all you are doing is just debt servicing and recurrent expenditure, then we're looking to a third year of non-performance by government. In terms of service delivery, we're looking toward another year of just nothing, But in any case, we'll return to it so that we deal with it in in greater detail. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. For my entire team here and I, here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people, people who build the cities that shape the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.